Hi everybody, welcome to my latest stream. Well, let me zoom this camera just a little bit in here. Okay, well on this one, sorry about the template that was showing, it still shows stream 2. This is number 3. And what I'm going to do now is upgrade my wife's computer. Let me show you what I have in terms of the overhead table here. So does everybody hear me on the live stream? Okay. No sound. No sound at all. I am echoing. Sorry about that. Did I have 2 mics on maybe? Does that sound any better? Okay, testing, testing. Okay, let me see what cameras are active here. Let me turn this one off. Unhide all. Let me see, do I have any that are not good? Okay. Does that sound any better now? Looks like I had two mics on. These little webcams that I have all have mics on them, so I apologize for that. Echoing still? At this point I just have one microphone, so it shouldn't be as much of an issue. Echoing, okay. That worked, okay, good. Yeah, I had one of the webcams on, maybe the one that's sitting right here on top of my monitor, because I got a bunch of, every one of these things has a mic to it. Right now I'm trying to use the one that's on my lapel here. I just tapped it, so it seems like that's the one that's live, so I apologize for that. I did do a sound check before, but I guess I missed that. Okay, so as I was going to say, I am upgrading this PC. This PC, I don't know if you can see this here, it was built November into December. It was only the second modern PC that I built. And it has an i3 CPU in it. And it has 8 gig of memory that's running at a rather low speed. I think it's 2600 megahertz. And in today's live stream, I'm going to pull that motherboard out of this case and upgrade it, put new memory on it, put a new CPU on it, and a new CPU cooler. And then I will put it into a new case. The new case you've seen before. Let me hold it up here. This is the darkFlash. It's got a nice tempered glass front to it that opens up very easily with a tab here. It's meant for the exact same mini ATX board, motherboard, that PC has in it. So we should be good with that. Let me go back to the overhead. Well, before I do that, let me go over some of the parts that I'm going to be putting into this. So we'll start off with, it'll go from an i3 to an i5. This is the i5 9600K. So it's a 9th generation, and that motherboard does support it. Just to make sure, I went ahead and put in the latest BIOS update to it. Even though the one that was in there, which was version 13, it's a Gigabyte H310, I believe, motherboard. Even though that one supposedly supports the 9th gen CPUs, I wanted to make sure I had the latest BIOS in it. So that's what I did prior to this live stream starting. Oh, good. You like the Micro Center videos? Lachi Lore? Good. I hope I said that right. I'm going to be doing another one of those next week, just to let everybody know. I'll be talking about that later. So that's the CPU that's going to go into it. The memory is going to be, gotta put my glasses on now, it's going to be this OLOy. It'll be a 16 gig kit, and this one will be running at 3000 megahertz. So it's 2 DIMMs of 8 each, so we'll have a total of 16. So that's the memory. The cooler is one that I've never tried before. It's from Be Quiet. It's the Pure Rock Slim 2. And I wanted one that was compact because this is a rather small case we're going into. And this one seemed to fit the bill. So I'll be opening this up as we put it in there. I think it only has a 90 millimeter fan on it. I believe that's the case. We'll find out when I get it open. In addition to that, I'm going to be upgrading the networking. Right now, the networking is just a 1 gig. Now I have a network that supports up to 10 gig with steps along the way, like 2.5 and 5 gig. So I got myself a little 2.5 gig network card that's going to go in there. Okay. I haven't tried this yet. I have 2 of these actually for possible upgrades like this one, but I haven't actually put it into a computer yet. I think it'll work fine. Very similar to the 2 PCs I have downstairs, the AMD ones that have a native 2.5 gig network adapter on them. And then finally, I'm going to actually put a video card in it. This PC here does not have one. It's using the motherboard video, which of course is, you know, supported by the CPU chip. But now I have this one, the GTX 1050. Actually the 1050 Ti. And it does pretty good. So, you know, that's going to go in here. It's one that I bought a while ago that I was using in another computer for a while, but then I pulled it out. And the power supply that's in here right now, let me put the overhead here. How does the sound do when I'm on the overhead? Does it sound okay? Anybody listening can let me know for sure. Does it sound good when I have the overhead on? Okay. I'll keep glancing over and seeing if anybody has a problem with it. Right now I don't even have the Samson turned on because I'm turning away from it too much. You know, when I'm doing more talking head to the camera, I will use this particular microphone a little bit more. But for right now, I'm just using the microphone. It's a Lapierre microphone that's connected directly to my DXLR camera, my Panasonic Lumix Z, is it the Z1000Z or something like that? It's the compact one. You can't change the lens on it, but it's got a pretty good lens that it came with. Oh, good. Somebody says the sound is good. Okay, thank you. And the rest of this is going to stay with it. So in terms of this PC here, it has a Corsair CX450 power supply. That's going to be carried into the new case. Obviously, the motherboard itself is going to be carried in once I upgrade it, because I'm going to pull it out, upgrade it, and then we're going to put it into the new case. And then there is a one thing we're going to be missing on this is using the 5¼ inch DVD writer and DVD reader, of course. If that's needed, I will put in as an external on that, but I don't think that that's getting used much anyway right now. So, you know, there isn't much we have that this PC is going to be necessarily using it for, but we'll see how that goes. And I think that's about it before I get started. Anybody have any questions about this? Sure. Lachi Law, you have a question? Sorry, but there's a little bit of a lag automatically with YouTube when I'm doing live streaming, so. I lost a couple of viewers. That's okay. Okay, well, I'll keep looking over for the question. Let me go ahead now and start taking this one apart. Now, this particular one has RGB in it, and I did a really poor job of it. I actually had to use silicone sealant to attach it. So I'm going to pull all that out, of course. And then I'll take all of the pieces out of it as well. So the first thing I need to do is take the motherboard out of this. So it's going to be a little bit harder to see unless I lower the camera down a little bit. Maybe I should do that. Let me... There, that might be a little bit better. You still won't see a lot, but you'll see more than you would have. Let me go ahead and start disconnecting all the cables. Got the SATA cables over here first. It actually has 2 SATA. I'm going to have to cut some cables here. I probably should have prepared that. There we go. That'll make it a little bit easier to get at them. So the 2 SATA cables are now taken off. I'll take the USB 3.0 cable. I'll take off the sound. I'll take off the other small little cables that are here that are connected. I'll take all the front panel connectors off. And then I'll take off the 24 pin. There we go. I don't know if, can I reach that? Yeah, I can reach that in there. The 12 volts for the motherboard, and this spread, really that's to power the CPU, right? And then, oh, I better take off the mouse and keyboard, the dongle for the wireless. I do have the mouse and keyboard sitting over here. But I'll pull that off so I can get that out, the motherboard out without a problem. And I think at that point I have everything disconnected now from the motherboard. So there's some fans over here plugged into the motherboard. Let me get that out. Looking around the perimeter of it, I don't see anything. So now let me take the screws off. An electric screwdriver would make the job easier for me, but I found that you're going to eventually strip a screw or mess up one of the standoffs. There's just no way of getting it 100% right unless you start it first and go in a little bit. You really got to get a feel for it. And it's hard with those electric screwdrivers to do that, from my experience anyway. It is important to have a magnetic screwdriver though. Everybody still with me out there? Looks like I lost a couple, then picked up one, so it's coming and going, okay. don't want to get my head in the way of the camera. It's way up in the corner there. There we go. And one more should do it. There we go. Okay, can this come out now? Yep, it comes out. Gonna need two hands to get all these cables out of the way. They've been sitting there a couple of years. And there we go. And what I'll do is I'll put the case aside for now. We'll deal with that in a little bit. So now we have the motherboard. Let me see, can I zoom in on this? Whoops, I went and closed the thing. Here we go. There we go. So now we can see what I'm doing here. So the first thing I'll do is I'll take the no, my wife is not a gamer per se, unless you count kids games with our granddaughter. But she uses this for home office stuff, you know, shopping online and things like that. It's meant to be a home office PC. So having that GPU actually may be too much, and who knows, I may take that out, you know, in the future if it really, you know, becomes necessary. But for now, I'll leave it in there. Let me take the memory out first. Popped right out. And like I said, this was, let me see what it was. $2,400 megahertz. This, what is it? Guile, yeah, Guile Potenza, Evo Potenza. I'll put this off to the side here. And I'm not going to touch the M2 drive. That was actually upgraded about a year ago. It originally had a very slow ×2 M2 drive in it, and pretty expensive online shop. Well, you know, it's like anything else. I want to use these parts that are on this one for another very low-end PC. So that's part of the plan as well. But you're right, it is kind of high end at this point, but who knows, I may want to use it for some other testing as well sometimes. Okay, this has got the standard CPU heatsink that came with the CPU. Disconnect the thing, and you got to turn these counterclockwise, I believe. Yeah, counterclockwise. And then you pull them straight up. Now when you take a cooler off that's been on there for a while, and this has been on there for about 2 years, I was running it before, so it is a little bit warm, because I took it out and I blew it out. I brought it out to my front of my driveway, and I don't use a weed blower or a leaf blower. I use just a compressed air with a small stream nozzle to it to blow all the dust out of the case. But you got to give it a little twist back and forth. So you hold a motherboard, you twist it a little bit, side to side just to loosen it up, and then it should come right up. Okay, there we go. That little white gap there was not there until I just pulled it up, so that caused it. The spread would look like it was fairly good for an i3 anyway. This had a different type of paste on it. I'm going to put a better paste this time. The MX4 from Arctic. I'm going to put that one on here when I put the new CPU in. And I think that's all I need for this. I can go ahead and, oh, by the way, just to let you know, I keep all of my CPU boxes, my motherboard boxes, my graphics card boxes, just in case. So I still have the original box for this i3 that was in there. So I have a place to put it until I decide to redeploy it into another PC. It's got the little plastic thing on it and everything, huh? Still got even the instructions in there, although I don't think I even opened that up originally. Any questions? Nice i3. Like I said, I'm going to do a low-end build. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be. I may even decide to sell it so I can buy some other parts. I'll talk more about that later, but we'll see. Let's open this up, pull this back, take the CPU chip out. Actually, before I do that, let me latch it down at least partially for now. I want to clean it. So I got some 99% isopropyl alcohol here. You can't really find this in the stores. This had to be ordered online to get it. I got 2 bottles of this. It lasts a long time as long as you keep it sealed. Just want to clean off all of that gook that's on there while I have the chance. This stuff is pretty potent, the 99% stuff. But again, the reason we use alcohol as high percentage as possible is it dries off really, really fast and thoroughly. And you don't want water left behind on your boards, right, for obvious reasons. So that should be good there. Now I can take this out. And I can put it back into its little holder. Whoops. So now I have it back in here. And I can package it back up again. We'll put it right back in here. And there we go. All back together again, and I can reuse that. I also have the box for the memory somewhere. I just couldn't find it in the short time I took to look for it a little while ago. But I will put that in there if I don't put it in another PC quick enough. I don't like to leave things outside their box. So now we're still open. Let me go ahead and double check this to make sure the pins look good. I like to run a flashlight from at least 2 or 3 sides, looking for shadows on the pins. It shouldn't be. This was a working PC. And make sure if you do that, don't drop the flashlight on top of those pins. You ruin the motherboard. Now let's open the new one, the i5. Got a really good price on that, so I can't complain. This one does not come with a cooler. There's no cooler included because it expects you to put an aftermarket one. The Intel coolers just wouldn't be good enough. So we got it here. And again, we got to look for the little triangle. Now this one has a big triangle right over here on the motherboard. That's what it looks like to me. Let me double check that with the light. That's what I think it is anyway, yeah. And it sort of matches the way this is going to go as well. So we'll put this guy in here. And then I like to wiggle it up and down, side to side a little bit. Make sure it's nice and seated in there. Then we'll close this guy up. Make sure that that screw sandwiches in this little tab on the lid of the socket, and then we push it all the way down and wrap it underneath. So there we go. We actually now have the new CPU installed. Let me do a nice clean job on that. Which i5 is that? There's a question over there. It is the i5 9600K. I didn't pay that price. That was the full list price. I paid just about half that on a sale that they were running at Micro Center. So that was a good price. And I'll put this back in the box. I like to keep everything together. That way, if I pull this one out for some reason, I'll be keeping this box, so I'll have it for future use. Let's clean that CPU. But before I do that, let me open up the cooler. I'll put this aside for a moment. This whole top here is a little anti-static matte. The actual normal color of the table is that very dark gray that you see in the other views. But I have an anti-static mat that's the same size of this table, which is 2 by 4 feet. Okay, so here's the Be Quiet. Let's carefully get this out. I'm going to want to put it on like that. Now I did open this up before and I noticed there was some slight damage to some of the fins here. I don't know if you can see that or not. If you see the reflection when I turn it, you can see some slight damage, so I had to straighten them out as best I could. I didn't want to go through an RMA process just for that. It wasn't that bad. So, but what happened was I didn't realize it, which is okay. I didn't want to use it anyway. By taking it out of this thing here, it had pre-applied thermal paste from Be Quiet. So I wound up putting it down on a table and ruining that. So I wiped it all off, but I'll wipe that all off again as I get this ready. And I'm going to have to change the brackets on this one. Any questions on that? Yeah, my wife is going to use this most of the time. If I could have gotten a lower i5 for a good price, I would have done that. But this was the only one that I could get. This was the only Intel i5s that they had for at least the month that I was looking in not just Micro Center, but other stores as well. So that's why, you know, it is what it is. The bracket is set for, right now, the AMD motherboard. Okay, it has the standard AMD clips over here on the side. So I'm going to have to change the brackets. Let me open up the instructions and double check. Make sure I get that right. A warranty card. Oh, at least there's color in this in the instructions. That's good. So if it's AMD, you've only got 3 steps, right, that you have to follow, because that's what the bracket is already there. If you want to do Intel, it becomes 6 steps. So the first thing we have to do here is get all the parts out here. It is like a 92 millimeter fan, and of course I dropped one of the springs, didn't I? Yep. Yep. Got it. You got these 2 springs to hold the fan on. I'm going to have to put these brackets on instead of the ones that are already there. So if we look at it carefully here, it looks like there's 2 screws on each side of this, like a 4-position bracket that's in for the AMD. I have to get those 4 screws off. Let me just double check that. Yep, and then I got to put these 2 brackets on instead. And it looks like it goes, one go this way and the other one will go that way. And then this part here looks very similar. That's a little surprising. I thought they'd come up with a better support bracket for it. But I guess that's what they just said. It's not a very expensive cooler, this one. And it's supposed to be good for even larger processors than this. It's rather new. It cost me, I think, list price was about $25 from Newegg, and then there was no shipping with it either, but I had to pay tax because I'm here in New York. Us New Yorkers get hit a little bit hard on the tax sometime. Oh, you don't have a Micro Center in Germany. Yeah, sorry about that. I will tell you more about that as I'm doing this. I plan on, as of right now, it still could change. I won't put the announcement out until, you know, on the community tab. I won't put it out until probably a couple of days beforehand. But what I want to do is do another overnight, this time for the 3070 launch. The 3070 is supposed to be sold for the first time on the 10th. That's Thursday morning. Today is Sunday. And then that means that I'll have to get online on Wednesday. So I'm going to try to get there probably in the late morning and be prepared for almost a 24-hour stay there. If it's the same people running the line as last time, they had this guy they refer to as the line master, then it should go rather smoothly. You know, it's actually a pair of guys that do that. Micro Center knows all about them and works with them apparently, because I saw them working with them on the video that I just did. Yeah, the CERT 3070 Ti. Yeah, coming out. If I get one of those, then I'll probably sell my 3060 Ti, my Rogue Strix. So we'll see how that goes. Or I could use it in a build that I sell. I don't know yet. But then if they have other other GPUs, if I get close enough to the front, they could get some 3080 Ti's or just 3080s in, and I wouldn't mind getting one more of those either. So we'll see how it goes. 3090 still is outside of my reach in terms of the cost that it's on. But so this looks pretty straightforward at this point. Let me remove these brackets here. Where's the MSRP for that one? Well, if you get the Founders Edition, I understand it's something like $600. I think that's it, $599. But obviously, Micro Center doesn't get a lot of Founders Edition cards in, unfortunately, so it probably would be a partner card. And those tend to run a little bit higher, you know, probably another $150 to $200 more. So that's what I'm expecting to happen with that. Okay, there's the AMD bracket. I'll save that because you never know, I may wind up using that or need it for another one, because if this cooler works out, I may get another one of these. We'll see. So let me put this in. This is pretty straightforward so far. I'm trying to be careful not to drop it. I don't want to bend any of those fins. Put the screw first. That's where a magnetic screwdriver comes in handy. Can everybody hear me okay? You don't even get any shipments, huh? Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I've heard that before. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you saw Paul's hardware video that he made, that he put up this weekend. I don't know if it was today or yesterday. He talks a lot about you know, the underbelly of some issues that goes on with the distribution of those cards. I don't know if it's entirely true, but you know, obviously, you know, he has heard something. I don't think he would make that video if he hadn't. He seems to be a pretty straight guy. So there we go. So let me bring the motherboard back into the picture. Put the fan and the brackets off to the side for a minute. Get this like that. And I'm going to put it on this way. And the fan will go on this way to blow out. The case has a outlet fan, an exhaust fan on this side of it. So that's how to, before I do that, let me see, should I put the memory in first? Just to make sure it fits. You never know. I would hate to put the cooler on and then have a problem. By the way, I still didn't finish that other build, my primary editing rig. It's sitting over there behind the side of my desk. I meant to try to get it done during the week. I'm going to videotape that when I do it and then put it up as a separate video, but it was so busy at my day job. So to do the thing that I want to do Wednesday, I'm taking a vacation day so that I can be sure that, you know, I can do it okay. Here's the memory. Okay. Always remember when you put memory in, find out where the position is, where the gap is between they're not the same length here, the LAN strips. This one's longer than that one, so make sure it is properly done. There's only 2 memory things here, so I don't have to worry about them being in the wrong order or anything. So I'll put those in. Push down, try to get 2 clicks. Yep. Oh, you wanted me to do an unboxing of this? There's really not that much to it. I mean, it's a pretty simple box. I've used this memory before, a faster version of it, for a while in my primary editing rig behind me here. I took it out and replaced it with faster memory even, or at least less latency on it. And it's working pretty good. Also, that's RGB, and the one that I had in there was not. I like the fact that this is black. And when I bought these heat sinks, because this heat sink did not come with the motherboard, this M2 heat sink, I actually purchased that and put it on. At the time, that cost about $12, and it only came in this red, but I understand now they sell a black one. What brand is that? It's called OLOy. Let's see, do they have any more detail on it? I got it from Newegg, as I recall. OLOy memory series. There's a label to it. 3000 megahertz. Two clicks, that's good sound. Now when I put this on here, do I have enough clearance? Let me hold it up to this. And let me put the fan on the side. Yeah, we got more than enough, we're good. Okay. Did it give you the direction of spin on this? It doesn't really matter. It always blows out where the bracket is, right, generally. So I will double check that once I get into it, but that should be fine. It'll go in like this. Be quiet spins. Take this guy out for now. And we got to clean that off now. I believe they also sell it, because I think I put links to it in my affiliate links on Amazon. They also sell it there as well. It didn't do bad at all. It's a rather low-cost memory, the OLOy. take the bottom of the cooler and do the same thing again. Even though I did clean it, it's always good to clean it again and again and again. So that should be nice and clean. Okay. Look, there's some gray there, which means that I still got some off. So let me do it again. So that's the old thermal paste that was on there. Yeah, I would not have needed the thermal paste if I was careful when I pulled this out of its package, when I opened it up to take a look at it. But I didn't realize it, and I laid it down on the table. There was nothing to block it from being exposed when I put it down, you know, in this direction here. So I wound up ruining it. That's okay. This one is better. The MX4 is better, so I'll put that on. And we should be good. Has anybody ever used this MX4? The Arctic MX4? I like it. One tube seems to last an awful long time as well. I got the larger tube. What did I get? The 3-ounce one, was it? I think that's what I got. I think I got the 3-ounce one. Comes in different sizes, obviously different costs as well. That should be more than enough. I like to really tighten it up so we don't dry up on me. It goes down quite a bit. Okay. So that's going to go on this way. The best place to hold it looks like is along the middle section here. I'll make sure that these things are turned counterclockwise. I should have said clockwise. It's not counterclockwise, it's clockwise in order for them to lock in. It's counterclockwise to remove them. I want to make sure that they spread. So that's what I'm looking at here, to make sure that they spread out. Okay. Yeah. There we go. Okay, now the fan. show you in the picture the direction of the fan. Yeah, they show the open end there, yep. Just checking the box here to make sure that I've got the fan oriented right. So I'm going to put it down like this, and then those brackets will secure it. Looks like those brackets go into the holes, right, on the two sides. Oops, I'd like to go this way, I guess. Oops, very, very touchy here. I better do one at a time so I don't drop it on top of anything important. I'll do the other side. Let me try to show it to the camera here. So I'll put it on the fan. Two fan screw holes first. And then it looks like it just goes right up like that and catches on the inside. There's a little lip there. A little lip on the inside there that catches it. Pretty easy. All right. Did I do that one right? I may not have. I may have to put the wire. Let me pull this one off. And then put the wire on the other side of it. Like this. And then try it again. Like that. Just snaps right in place. Pretty good. And that way I can put a nice little cable tie on here, plug it in to the motherboard. Make sure I got that in there. Yep. I like to put a cable tie on it while I can. So just sort of wrap this up. So it stays out of the way. Probably could use two cable ties, but I'll just put one on for now. That'll keep it out of the way. It's nowhere near the fan blade, it won't get caught in there. Just give it a little snip. And we're good. So I think now I have it all set up the way I wanted. I think that's all I had to change here. Yep. So what I'll do is I'll put this aside. Let me get the video card out of the way. Get this out of the way. Let me put that out of the way for now. Oh, these screws I better not lose them. They're for the old case to hold the motherboard in. So I'll put them over here. Put those in there later. Okay, let's get this case up here. I got to get the power supply in. Well, actually, I got to put the old case up here first. Let me do that. All this nice cable management is gonna go to waste. Let me zoom up a little bit. So I gotta cut all this out. This is a wholesale cut job, so I just have to make sure I don't cut any wires. Always try to see the tips of the cutter before you snip if you can. That's really, important. What, this is bothering you, your OCD? Well, this is only my second modern PC that I build at the time, and I just wanted to get it together. This case doesn't give a lot of room for hiding cables. That's one of the disadvantages of it. It was very cheap. This case only cost, I think, $21 when I bought it. I think I bought it from Amazon. I never did a video on the build of this one. That was before I built this, before I had my YouTube channel up. So it's building this one and my other PC, the one that's my main daily driver / editing rig. It's that experience that convinced me that I could have a good chance, maybe not an excellent chance, but a good chance at getting some success making videos. I mean, I felt I presented well, and it was just a matter of learning how to do it in front of a camera with nobody around. And believe me, that takes a while to get used to. That's one thing that I have to say about it. Talking to a camera is not... All I need is the power supply one's disconnected. I'm going to take off the RGB Molex. That's an RGB that I added to this. And this will come off eventually. So let me pull this out. This one's actually controlled by your iPhone, but it also has a remote to it that you can use as well. I made this cable here, right? It allowed for going to Molex to a standard 2.5 millimeter power connector. Let's see, what do I have? Do I have everything freed up yet? Oh, I better take the I/O shield out. I'm going to be needing that. With the other case. Why does this give me some trouble here? Shouldn't be. Maybe I put the other cables in afterwards and that gave me more room. The connector on that is a pain, huh? How do they get that in there? I know I didn't change the connector on it. Let me pull these fan cables through. Get those out of the way. Might give me some more room. And then this one goes back the other way. I gotta, let's see, probably have to use pliers. I must have wrestled with this, like I'm doing now. A flathead screwdriver maybe, help me out here. There we go. It's coming along. Get a flathead screwdriver. Can everybody hear me okay? A chilled scream? Who's screaming over there? Yeah, I don't want to break the connector. There we go. I had to get them through separately. That's how I did it last time. I didn't realize that. There was two of them together, and I must have pushed them through separately last time and put them together on the other side. Did somebody suggest that? I have done some Pi stuff, and I had videos on doing stuff with Pis. Let's see, do I have to cut some cable ties here? Probably. I tend to put a lot of cable ties to make things secure. Okay. That's that. That's that. Don't have to worry about the solder on that one. I have to get these off. I gotta take that SSD out. I got a 2.5-inch SSD in there. I forget what size this is. I think it's only 250 gig though. Just like the yeah, I think it's a 250 gig SU650. So I want to have the drives work exactly the same when I get over to the other side. Let me take another cable tie that I have over here out. There's that flashlight. There we go. More cable ties. The rest looks like I can probably get to it from the other side. That's out. Another cable tie. That's out. Of course, it had to be another hot night here. I'll put this out of the way for now. Like that. I'm trying to free up all the power cables here. I won't play with the case cables right now. Oh, we got a cable tie tying that SATA. There's a cable tie tying that SATA in here somewhere. Oh no, I just didn't disconnect them yet from the other drive. I mean, that's not critical because I'm not going to be putting that one in the other case. So let me get it out of the way. We just get it out of the way so it's not part of the equation. But I do have to get the power, the SATA power cable off. I do need this one SATA data cable. That's going to be for the 2.5 inch. I think that might be what I need. That's going to stay with the case. Where are those going? Front panel. So those are front panel. Okay, I think it's time to take the power supply screws off. Got 9 people with me. I know you can't see what I'm doing here. There's not much to see here. Just taking these power supply cables, screws off. They're right here. Still can't see, but it's okay. Let me get this out, then I can pull the power supply out. Get all those cable ties over there. Okay, I got to pull this RGB out to get the power supply. This one, the power supply was mounted at the top. All that silicone stuff I put in there now has to get out of the way. What's blocking it? I guess just all these cables not coming out. That's what it is. don't have another cable tie in here, do I? No, I don't think so. Shove all these in here. Shove them over to the other side. How are we doing on time? I could still do it. If not, I'll be very close. Boy, I forgot how small these holes are for these cables. Let's see, does this thing come out now? At least partially. What the heck is in the way? There's no other. I guess it's just these cables, just have to get through here. I can't get the big one through until I get all the little ones through. There's this little bitty hole here, like maybe 2 inches by 1.5 inches. I got to get all these cables back through. There we go. And now I should be able to get the big one through. Okay, finally. And the rest of this stuff can stay with the case for now. Put it on the side. I got all this gook here. I don't know. Let me see if I can pull it off. I tried everything to get that RGB to attach to this, as I recall. It was not an easy task. Got a combination of electrical tape and silicone tape, silicone sealant on here. Oh my gosh. I had to redo that a couple of times as I recall, so that was not easy then either. Take all this out, trash it. But the power supply is now out. At least the other case has a shroud for it. Trying to get as much of this gook off as I can. That I had holding the RGB. I think that's all I'm going to be able to get off. Okay, now I can get the other case. Just a nice easy one to take the glass off on. Let me raise this guy back up again. So we got it lined up a little bit better. If you just pull this up like this, the whole thing just comes right off. It's beauty. Putting it someplace safe. Okay, I don't want that to shatter on my. Take the little filter off. Put that on the side. Okay. I did want to show something on the screen here. So let me open up the manual for this motherboard. That's what I wanted to open up. I have it on my server. I think this will do it right there. Okay, I should have sound from the Samson now. How does that look? Does everybody hear that okay? Hopefully you guys can hear my sound. Looks like I only have one sound going here. Okay, so this is the manual for that motherboard. And I wanted to go to where it is important. And the most important thing here when you're going to put a motherboard in is the front panel connectors. So right here. Oops, I didn't want that. I wanted to zoom in. There we go. So here's the front panel connectors for that motherboard. And that's what I wanted to make sure that I had handy. Okay, everybody can hear me, right? Well, looks like I have sound, so it should be, the Samson should be the one that's giving sound. Hopefully I don't have an echo. Okay, let me see, anybody have any problems with hearing me? What I did do though is, and I do this all the time when I'm doing a build. Let me switch back. Wrong button. I wanted overhead. So hopefully you guys can hear me on this overhead. What I always do is I print it out. So what you see here is an actual printout of that section of the manual. That'll make it a lot easier for me when I put the motherboard in to get it in the right place. Okay. Now what I did is I put these screws in here, just finger tightened. So let me take those all out, the motherboard screws. Okay, I think there's one more, yeah. I have to put the I/O shield in. Never forget to do that. I always check to make sure that there's no bent pins on it to start things off. I don't want anything to get stuck in there. And then remember that the audio goes to the bottom. The bottom is this way, right? Okay. Put this in here. I guess my wife wouldn't be too happy if I broke this computer. So I'm hoping that it works out okay. The usual back and forth that you get with a I/O shield. There we go. There we go. It's all the way through now. Okay, so I got the I/O shield in. I got all these connectors here out of the way. That goes on the other side later. I do have two solid-state drives here that I have to pull off. So before I go forward, these are the ones that I had in here before. They do not have the software on them that my wife will depend on. One of them is actually Linux. So I'm going to go ahead now and fix that. Take those two hard drives out. They're over here. Oh, they're not hard drives, but it's just two solid-state drives. I believe one's a 512 gig and the other one's a 240. How are we doing over here? Yes, I always put my little labels when I build a computer. When did I build it? I like to keep track of that. So this one had been built in its original form, June 2020. It got upgraded a couple of times after that, though. This was meant to just be a little extra office automation computer originally. So that's one. I forget which is which. What is this? This is a 250 gig. No, I'm sorry, 480 gig. It's a 480 gig on that particular one. So that becomes a shelf part. Now this one, I should have taken these out earlier, but I forgot they were in here. What is this one? 256 gig. Okay, so I got two spares now. This is the controller for the RGB. That's all going to stay. So at this point, I guess what I should do is put the other solid state drive in, as long as I'm back here, right? So let me go ahead and do that now. There are holes there, right? Yeah, I just can't see them. They're black. There we go. I keep the same screws that I got with the original solid state. Same thing with the power supply. I always keep the screws that came with it. I don't want to have to deal with bad threading or improper length. It's a habit that I've developed. Actually, that's like a replacement. Maybe I lost one of those. That was the one I took out though, so that's the one that's going back in here. It's right threads, so. That's in. Let me put the other screws that were the other solid state drives with those drives. Okay. How we doing? Half an hour? Okay. Now, what I like to do, if I can, is I like to put the power supply in first. I know that's backwards from what a lot of people do, but I found it really helped me out in terms of getting stuff ready, especially in tight quarters like the 12-volt power supply, the 12-volt power connector. So, let me go ahead and do that. Remember, the fan goes down. So it's going to go just like this. Now I have a bay here for a 5 1/4 inch hard drive. Now I do have a 5 1/4 inch hard drive here, and I was thinking about putting that in. It's a spare that I had, but I won't do that tonight. Not with the time constraint that I have. But I may add that again later before I do the final buttoning up of this PC. I get one screw started, then I'll reshift the case so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. Let me get that cooler out of the way. The original CPU cooler. I should put that in the box actually with the other one, with the i3. That's something I didn't do. How are we doing? What do I got there? Between 7 and 9 people hovering up and down. Okay. Sound seems okay, right? Yep. So now I'll take this and I'll get it a little bit pre-positioned
Okay. So there's that 12 volt CPU power. That's it. We'll wrap it up through here. And it looks like this one here, the regular 24 pin, is going to have to go through this top hole. So I'm just maneuvering it down to that top hole, getting that in there. And then the SATA one will actually just give me power to that SATA guy right there. I like to get the thick cables underneath, the thick ones, underneath the thin ones, excuse me. Is that the right way? I'm not sure. Where's the key? The key's there. The key's there. That is the right way. Then I have a SATA data cable. Key again. Key's there. Key's on the other end. Okay. Okay. Let's say the data is going to have to go through the lower hole. Like that. The rest of these cables, pretty much, with the exception of one to power the RGB, well, the RGB and the fans themselves, there is a SATA connector here somewhere. Power. It's a Molex. So I'll just stick it at the end of this Molex. Need the right gender, huh? Oh, it goes this way then, okay. Is that the right way? There we go. I remember the day when Molex was the only way you could do it. 27, 28 years ago. That's when I first started building computers. So now the fans should come on. Let me see. Where is the... all of these other cables are going to go down in the bay here. I'll dress them up later. That's a problem with having a CX power supply. I don't even need one of these. I don't need one of these for that particular graphics card. There's no need for it. So that'll go down in the bay as also, and I'll use tire wrap them later. And these go through here. One is the USB and one is the audio. So they go through this little thing right here. So I'm pre-positioning everything is what I'm doing here, the powers and the data cables the best I can. And where did that, this one here, I believe that'll go through here. And then I'll be in the ballpark. Where does all these guys go? The front panel. Get those all where they need to go. Is that all of them? Let's see. That's the power. That's the HDD. That's the reset. And that's the power switch. And they're all the way off to this side here. So they're going to go that way. Let me put the back on temporarily just so it keeps those cables in place. Much more room in this case to store cables. Okay. So now I got pre-positioning. Excuse me. Oh, the Micro Center video got you, huh? Stale pancake mix? Okay. Do you have a Micro Center near you? Well, that's the extra. There's an extra SATA cable there. Don't need that. SATA data cable, that is. Push these out of the way a little bit. Should be good. And now I should be able to take the motherboard, and hopefully I don't have the same problem I had. It shouldn't. I've used this case before. What happened my last stream, I was unable to get the PC completed because the case was one I had not used before, and oh, do I have the screws in the right place here? Screw there, screw there. Those two studs may not be in the right place. I may have to move them for this motherboard. Let me see. That one's good. That one's good. That one's wrong. And that one's good. So that stud there is wrong. So the motherboard I had in there before. Fortunately, I have my little wrench. Allows me to move these studs around. What is this? I think it's a 3/16. Yeah, 3/16. So just take it. I can move this over to the other hole. The right way to do it. Try you along those pliers. It just isn't right. Get this in here. Looks like they're in the right places now. Now you got to be very careful to get this so that I don't block any of the I/O shield connectors. there's a wire that's jumping in my way from the fan. That's not good. Okay, it's in, and here's a tab that just got in the way, and that caused a problem. The I/O shield now popped out. Hate when that happens. There we go. Let's get that tab out of the way. It was right in the, although I'm not going to be using that port, the display port connector on the motherboard, but I still don't want to cause a short. There we go. Okay, it looks good. So now I can secure it. 15 minutes to go. I hope I can get a post out of it. First screw is always the hardest. With such a small motherboard, you don't have the extra little guide on one of the holes that some cases provide. I'm not going all the way down. I'm going to come back around and retighten them. Make sure the fingers look good. Okay, still look good. And last one. Let me get the 12 volts in. I meant to do that before securing the motherboard, but oh well. It's not that difficult on this one. There's plenty of room in this case to get it in there. Just takes two hands. And there's an extra cable there I'll have to deal with later with cable management. 24 pin. Let's get that guy in. I made it go over a little bit in time, so I apologize. You got a GTX 970, which is getting old. Yeah, a lot of people there, and the last time I went, they had 970s. I was surprised how many, but they had them. Just putting all the connectors on. This is the USB 3.0. Okay, I've got a SATA one here. Let me see. Are they numbered? Yeah, 0, 1, 2, 3. So the one to do it first is the one right next to it. Makes sense. That's the way I think I saw it last time. In the other case, then we've got the USB front panel USB, and then this is the front panel audio. Okay, and then I think at this point we just have these wires. So for these, it's actually writing on there too. Yeah, it looks like it's the same. Okay. So let me get the power. The power. Power switch. There it is, power switch. Power switch. There's no polarity for power switch. So power goes on those two. Reset. Also no polarity. Goes in those two. And then we got hard disk. You got the LED. Let me do the hard disk first. That one has a polarity. And it's got to be the plus to the left for my position. That. And then we got this power LED. Same thing. There's two separate ones. Some older motherboards separate them. That's why they do that. I have to put them one at a time, okay. That was a plus, right? Next one's plus. Yeah. This is always very hard to get those little... I don't have the speaker. I have a speaker I can add to this later, if I want to do that. That does help with diagnosing problems. I think that's it. I really do. I got this fan in. All these other fans are controlled by the fan controller. So I guess at this point, I'm going to move this over and use this monitor. We'll get an HDMI cable. Actually, let me put the video card in. What am I doing? I forgot about the video card. I'll save the land for later. Get the video card in here. $1050 Ti. So that's going to go in to those two slots right there. Right, so it's a top two. Get these screws out of here with the right screwdriver. There it is. It's a nice little small video card. It's the only thing a lot of people were able to get for their bills, unfortunately. They couldn't get anything better than that because of the shortage. There we go. That should be it. I'm being optimistic, I know. I've seen all of these parts work before. So hopefully I didn't kill one. Well, I haven't seen the CPU work. So I gotta hope for the best on that one, right? That's the main new thing here. Okay. Put this out of the way. I was getting an HDMI cable, right? Yeah. HDMI. Put it into the monitor first. Get my juice I never drank out of the way. Okay, where's the HDMI? Top one's display. Bottom one is HDMI. There we go. Power cable. I have that somewhere here. Yep. Where's the... Let me put the little keyboard and mouse dongle in. Okay, so I have a keyboard and I have a mouse. Okay, let's see what we get. Oh, I should put internet on here. It's going to be the 1 gig in it by default. That's okay. Okay, so I think I have everything hooked up that I need to hook up. Let me switch this monitor to HDMI 2. I'm going to turn this camera around so you can see the screen. I'm going to go onto the main camera. So hopefully you guys can hear me okay here with one mic. And if I turn on the power supply, it came right on. I didn't hit the power switch. Oh, okay, now I hit it. Hey, there we go. There we go. It's coming up. The resolution has to be fixed. I'll have to load the drivers, but we got a boot. Wow. Let me shut this down and get into the BIOS, just to make sure it looks the way I expect it to look. Let me shut this thing down. Shut down. And I finished only 3 minutes later. Well, I didn't do any cable management. Okay, it's off. I'll power it back on. I'll hit delete and go into the BIOS. I see the hard drive light and I see the power LED as well. Okay. So it says, let me see, what does the system say? I'm not too happy with this BIOS, but it is what it is. What do we got here? Graphics card setup. It's a 3.7 gigahertz. Where's the easy mode? Okay, this is better. So I have an i5, according to this here. Let me turn this around a little bit and zoom in a little bit so you can see it. So it says I have an i5 9600K 3.7 gigahertz. CPU temperature is only 34 degrees. So the fan is running, the cooler is not hot. This fan, I got two fans in the front blowing in, I got these two at the top blowing out, and this fan blowing across. It has the RPM there of the CPU fan. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. You people, everybody still with me? Well, I got like 6 people out there, but it does come up. Sunday, 2303, so I got a little bit over, but I think it looks good. Temperature is staying steady there at 35 degrees centigrade. 35, 36. Windows Boot Manager. Okay, this is great. Let me exit. Let it boot up. It's a crazy resolution right now, but let me see. Display settings. So 1024 768. This is a 4K monitor. I could probably go a little bit higher. Yeah, I could do a lot higher than that. Let me do. How's that one look? Keep those settings. Okay, that's a little bit better. The drivers are not loaded yet for that particular video card. So this is going to take a little while for it to catch up. And I'll go ahead and load the drivers on it, but I think that's a success. Let me come around, zoom out. You don't see my mug. I zoomed in. I don't want to do that. Well, I think that was a success. I did not break my wife's computer, and it's now a much better computer here. I did some testing before I actually went ahead and did the swap. Oh, it just resized the graphics. It automatically did it. So now we're at a much higher resolution than we were before. Excuse me. So it automatically downloaded drivers for it to catch up. I'm curious. I had run some tests before. Let me go to my other login. I'm curious what the performance difference is. So here, if I go to where I stored this stuff, where is it? Stream. And I did some performance testing before. First of all, I did a CPU Z to show what the different features were. Let me run CPU Z again and see what it looks like. Let me see, are people still hanging on there? Yeah, there's a few, so I'm just going to keep going. Hopefully I'll be able to finish this off in a few minutes. We're still going. Let me find the test. PC tools. I'll start with CPU Z. Why it gives me that error, I'm not sure, but it does come up anyway. Okay. Let me change the resolution. It's a little. It went up to 4K, I think, is what it did. Yeah. It's sort of 4K monitor. It went up to 4K. Yep, I don't want that. I'm going to go 1920 by 1080. Keep it at that. And that way you could at least have a chance at seeing this. We can't grow this thing, but resize this so we can put them side by side. Not like that. Did not want that. Did not want that. Come on, stop jumping on me. It's installing NVIDIA stuff. Okay. Let me turn the camera to this one so you can see it. I'll zoom in. Okay. So as you can see here on the original one, it was an Intel Core i3 Coffee Lake. Now we're at i5 KB Lake. 9600K, I don't know if you can see that on there, but it's a 9600K, whereas before it was an 8100. And it had, let's see how many cores did this thing have before. Oh, you got to click on this next just looking at them. I went and did the performance, a benchmark test on this thing originally. And I said bench to CPU. Last time I got a 408 on single thread and a 1598 on multi-thread. Let's see what I get now. Might see them side by side a little bit better. It went up not much in single thread. It went from 40, rounding at 409 to 525. But the multi-thread one, because this one has now 6 CPUs or 6 threads, and the other one only had 4, it jumped from 1597 to 3049. Okay. And then I ran, I'm going to jump right to Cinebench and see what I get here. I'll skip the other tests that I did. I ran Cinebench R15 on this one. So I'm going to be consistent and do the same thing. Let's see what kind of performance we get out of that. Oops, I'll make it big and I'll shrink it later. And you see the i3-8100 here. I had a 575 before. So I'm going to do a run of a CPU. Let's see what we get. It's cool. Touching the top of the cooler, it's cool. So now we get a 1030. So it jumped up from a 575 to a 1030. It actually jumped between some of the older models of the i7. Right? Some of the older models. So that's pretty good. I think that's all I'm going to do with this for now. Yeah, save it, why not? I think that proves that we were able to get this all to work. And does anybody have any questions before let me switch back to the other monitor. Come back on to me. Okay. Does anybody have any questions before I end the stream here? I think I was successful this time. Yeah, I did. It just so happens that that was the only i5 that I could get. I was going to go for a different i5. Now maybe I might upgrade the motherboard at some point in the future. But right now it is a locked motherboard, as you noticed. but it does support it, at least for now. Any other questions that I can answer before we end the stream? At least 15, 18 minutes late. Still have 9 people out there. I do thank everybody for showing up and watching this tonight. I'll give it another few seconds. If I don't see any other questions, I'll move it on and call it a night. Let's see here. Jeremy. Hey, Jeremy. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jeremy. Jeremy says, nice job. I enjoyed this. Well, at least I got a working PC out of it. And I don't have the problem of having to troubleshoot this and deal with the fact that I took away my wife's computer. So it's a twofer, as they say. Any other questions? Give it another few seconds. If not, okay. Stale pancake mix, good night. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. And watch some of my other videos besides the Micro Center one. I think that would be, I think you'd find some of them interesting. Okay, with that, I think what I'll do is, I don't see any other ones, so I'm going to do an end. Good night, everybody.